I don't care about your mother. I'm in the middle of something, so don't interrupt me. She's got 6 months to live anyway. You knew she was going to be gone soon, so don't call me up every time. You can take care of your own mother yourself.
One day, I received a phone call informing me that my mother was in critical condition. When I rushed to call my husband, he spat out cold words at me, as if he had no regard for human life. I sat there in a daze with the phone in my hand, thinking about my mother. I wanted to show her how happy I was with my marriage. I believed it would be the greatest repayment I could give her. But now, I might not be able to fulfill my promise. I wiped away the tears that were welling up in my eyes and ran to the hospital. I'm sure my husband is still so absorbed in his hobbies that he has forgotten about our phone call, unaware of the unexpected tragedy that awaited him after that. My name is Sophia. I'm a 27-year-old housewife living with my husband Emery, who is 2 years older than me. I met him when I had just graduated and joined an IT company.
I'm Emery, and I will be training you starting today. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Emery became my immediate senior. He was fast at his work and was admired as an elite within the company. He also had many hobbies, such as karaoke, bowling, darts, and baseball, and always seems to enjoy talking about his private life. Emery was the kind of person I admired and adored. When I was 26 and he was 28, we started dating. And after 3 months of dating, we decided to get married. There is a big reason why we got married in such a short period of time. It is because my mother was sick in the hospital. My mother was unmarried when she gave birth to me, and she raised me all by herself. However, she had a chronic illness that often caused her to have breathing problems and nausea. I did my best to support her during those times, and we lived together so I could help her out. Then one day, my mother's chronic illness rapidly worsened, and she was finally told that she had only 6 months to live. She was so shocked that she could not stop crying. But when I told her of our marriage, she said, "Sophia, congratulations! Please live happily for me." She congratulated me with a big smile on her face. As a last act of filial piety, I could perform as a daughter. I vowed to raise a happy family with my husband. When I got married, I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. I struggled with housework I was not accustomed to, but I was doing my best for my husband, who was working hard. Then one day, my husband came home from work and said to me,
I've got a new hobby.
"What's this new hobby of yours?"
Fishing. A friend of mine invited me to try it, and I'm totally hooked.
Husband is overjoyed to have found a new hobby, fishing. However, his addiction to fishing was clearly unusual compared to his other hobbies. Whenever my husband had a day off from work, he would go to the beach with his friends. At first, I was happy that he seems to be enjoying himself. But the more times he went, the more expensive the fishing rods and lures he bought out. My husband even said,
I've chartered a fishing boat.
I was taken aback when he said this. "You've been spending too much money on fishing lately, haven't you? That's why you don't give me much money for living. It's fine to have fun, but for the sake of the family budget, why don't you moderate your spending?" I was worried that our finances were getting tighter and asked my husband to be mindful of it. But my husband, with a nonchalant look on his face, says to me,
It's my hard-earned money. What's wrong with spending it on what I want to do? Why don't you just make it work for you?
I can't hide my surprise at the fact that he leaves everything about our life to me. Then, my husband tells me a fact I never expected.
I've told my mother that the food you make is lousy. Learn from my mother, a senior housewife, and cook properly from now on.
Unbeknownst to me, my husband had been complaining to my mother-in-law. Since her husband passed away a few years ago, she has been living alone in a house some distance away from us. My husband was worried about her, so he went to check on her from time to time, and he told her how stressed out he was about me. After that, my mother-in-law visited our house often and started blaming me. Both my husband and my mother-in-law treat me coldly, and I always felt helpless. When I talked to them about money, they insisted that I should take care of it myself, so I spent my days visiting my mother, draining my savings from my unmarried days. I was willing to put up with it for my mother's sake, but my savings were running out faster than I expected. I don't have much money left. Please give an actual allowance.
I told you I don't want to. I mean, it's a waste of money to visit your mother. I hope she dies already.
My husband was insane. He says my food tastes bad, and he doesn't care about my mother. I couldn't see any vision of being happy with my husband like this, and I murmured in my heart that I might not be able to fulfill the vow I made to my mother. A few days later, on a cold night, I received a call. It was from the hospital, where my mother was hospitalized, and I suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. I was afraid that something might have happened to my mother. I fearfully pressed the receiver button on my cell phone.
Your mother has been rushed to the emergency room and is in critical condition.
I heard the doctor's voice. Okay, I'm on my way. With that, I hung up the phone and immediately called my husband.
Hello? I'm in the middle of something.
My husband was in the middle of something and tried to hang up on me right away. Wait, can you calm down and listen to me? I just got a call from the hospital that Mom's life is in danger, so you need to come to the hospital right away. I'm on my way too. However, my husband doesn't change his tone and says to me,
Why do I have to go? It's your mother's business, so why don't you go alone? I'm just enjoying a night of fishing. Don't bother me.
He shouted at me and hung up the phone. I was stunned by my husband's attitude, as if he was a stranger to me. How could he be so heartless when the life of someone he cared about was in danger? It was my husband who should be on his way to the hospital rather than me. I felt an uncontrollable anger welling up inside me. I want to run to my husband right now and slap him. But right now, there was no time to lose. I gave up hope that my husband would come and headed for the hospital as quickly as possible. The next day, I came home and had lunch alone. Then, I received a call on my cell phone. I rushed to answer it, expecting my husband to finally call me back, but it was my friend Jenny. She was a colleague of mine from when I was working as an office worker, and we saw each other regularly after I got married. Hello, Jenny? What's wrong? Hi, Sophia. I saw something last night. So what? Please listen to me calmly. The truth is, I listened carefully to Jenny's story and found it unimaginable. Finally, in the evening, I received a call from my husband.
Listen to this. I caught a big mackerel last night. It was worth sticking around in the frigid cold. We are having a mackerel dinner tonight, so ask my mom how to cook it. I want you to ruin this perfect fish.
My husband was completely satisfied with his night fishing, but I didn't care about his excitement. Mom passed away. I confided in him. My husband started laughing in high spirits.
I see your mother has finally passed away. How much inheritance are you getting?
My husband was still under the mistaken impression that my mother had passed away. I spoke the truth clearly and indignantly. Not my mother. Your mother passed away while you were indulging in a night of fishing. Yes, the mother who was rushed to the emergency room was not my mother, but my husband's mother, my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was at the sauna near her house and had a myocardial infarction while she was there, probably due to the extreme rise and fall of her blood pressure caused by the difference in temperature between the outside and inside. My mother-in-law was rushed to the emergency room, but her body was already stiff and she passed away. I tried to call my husband many times, but my husband kept blocking my calls, and I never heard from him again that day. This was the first time he learned of his mother's death.
When I get home, you'll have to explain everything,
he said and hung up the phone. At this moment, I realized how much my husband had been looking forward to my mother's death, and I despaired of his true nature. Why did I marry such a man? I was at a loss, but I decided to have a proper talk with him and waited for his return. About 30 minutes after the phone call, he came home in a hurry. He started questioning right when setting foot inside the house.
Hey, what do you mean my mom's gone? Why didn't you call me?
He's pissed off that it's my fault, but I don't understand what he's saying. Huh? I called you several times last night, and yet, who is the one who has been blocking my calls all this time? I said somewhat agitatedly, but my husband said,
You're the one who talked about her in a confusing way. If I had heard it was my mom, I would have stopped fishing and go to the hospital right away. Even if it was an accident, you might as well have killed her. It should have been your mom who died,
he said to me. I can't get anywhere talking to you. You are crazy to think you can say such a thing. I don't care if you regret it in the future.
Who is going to regret it? Your mother will be going to the other side in the near future. When that happens, give me all of your inheritance as compensation for this.
I finally told him to leave me alone and locked myself in my room. 3 days later, my mother-in-law's funeral was held. In addition to my husband and myself, my husband's relatives and co-workers came to pay their respects.
I heard that it was so sudden that you couldn't see her at her end. I was so sorry to hear that. Yes, it was a huge shock to me.
My husband would make a sad face when the mourners sympathized with him, but he scowled towards me. Then my husband began the eulogy, but I wanted to cover my ears.
I was stuck at work that night my mother died. I got a call from my wife, and I managed to get a break from work and try to answer it, but she stopped calling after about 2-3 attempts. If only she had kept in touch with me until I picked up the phone.
My husband was giving a sobbing speech about how it was my fault when he was obviously lying, and me being annoyed inside, saying, "What the hell is he talking about?" The mourners who didn't know the truth started giving me the cold shoulder, and I heard one of the relatives say, "That girl is not a good wife to make her husband so sad like this." I was unreasonably blamed. I was at the height of my anger. My husband was still in the middle of his speech, but I grabbed the microphone from him. "I'm sorry to interrupt. I have something I have to tell you all."
Sophia, what are you doing? Are you going to ruin my mother's funeral?
I'm going to tell the truth, and you're going to shut up and listen.
What? The truth?
I shook off my husband's protest and played a voice recorder I was holding. I had secretly recorded my conversation with my husband when he returned from fishing. I had recorded my repeated attempts to contact him, his refusal to accept my phone calls, and his desire for my mother's inheritance. Everyone stared in shock as my husband's true nature came to light. When exposed to the conclusive evidence, my husband did not know what to do. I thought there was no way to get away with this, but he stubbornly resisted.
If you thought you couldn't get through, Why didn't you call my office? There is no way I could use my cell phone while I was at work.
There was no evidence on the voice recorder that my husband had gone fishing at night. But I still had one important fact. You were never working in the first place. Take a look at this video. I took out my phone and showed him a video. It was a video of him enjoying a fishing date with a young woman at an offshore fishing pond.
Recording without permission? Who did this?
My husband suspected me at first, but I told him I was home all that night, so it wasn't me. Then, one of the mourners stands up and says, "It was me." That mourner was Jenny. She had called me earlier to tell me that she had seen something, and it was a scene of my husband's affair. At first, I doubted my eyes, but no matter how many times I looked, all I could see was Emery on a date with a young woman. So I couldn't help but take a video of it and send it to Sophia. When Jenny sent me this video, I was shocked. While his mother was in the emergency room, her son was cheating on his wife without a care in the world. I can't help but feel sorry for his mother, that she won't get to see him before dying because of it. When the evidence of the affair was revealed, my husband finally lost his words and collapsed to his knees. He cried out to me,
"Please forgive me."
Then I replied, "I don't want to be with a scumbag who mistreated my mother and his own mother's life." I said firmly. The funeral was messy, but somehow it ended. I demanded a divorce from my husband, and he complied without a single complaint. My ex-husband had no savings at all, not only because he spent a lot of money on fishing equipment, but also because he had an affair with a woman. He barely had enough money from his mother's inheritance to pay me alimony, and it was a shameful sight to see an old man trying to rely on his parents' money. In addition, since people from my ex-husband's company attended the funeral, he had gained a bad reputation within the company and was completely isolated. Although he had always been an elite man who could do a good job, his career path was cut off due to his numerous misdeeds, and he was finally forced to resign from his job. When I went to visit my mother, I told her about the divorce. I couldn't be happy with that man. "I'm so sorry I couldn't fulfill my promise." I apologized to my mother with tears in my eyes. She took my hand in hers and said, "You have nothing to apologize for. I don't want you to be happy with someone who can't take care of you. I hope you will meet a man you can truly love. I will be watching over you from heaven to make sure you both are happy." I really love my mother, who always has a smile on her face, even when she doesn't have much time left to live. From marriage to divorce, many things happen, but I realized the preciousness of life once again. I decided to become a nurse so that I can save people's lives